Hi, everyone. Welcome to Satire Can Save Us All. This is the weekly webcast where we talk about satire in the age of coronavirus. I'm your host, Kevin KAL Kallaugher. I am the editorial cartoonist for The Economist magazine of London and for the Baltimore Sun in Maryland. Now, in our webcast, we're going to try to do weekly interviews with practitioners all around the globe. We're going to do some reviews of good satire that we're seeing on the internet. And we're also going to give you a little peek behind the curtain on what it's like to be a satirist and how we do our business. This week, we're going to do an interview with a Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist. We're going to do a little satirical shout out with our first satire correspondent. And then, of course, we got to close out with our Muppet in Chief, Bowser McSchnauzer. But first, I want to start off with a cartoon. In fact, this is a cartoon that I drew and finished about 3 o'clock this morning. Have a look. Well, okay, this is actually not the cartoon that I finished at 3 o'clock in the morning, but this is how it started. This is a little sketch, just 2 inches by 2 inches, where I was getting my idea down on paper, and you can see there on the right, you may be able to recognize that guy a little bit. But it gets clearer, and after drawing and redrawing and drawing some more and finally adding some paint, this little sketch eventually looked like this. And this is the cartoon that I completed about the Donald Trump and Dr. Fauci and the tensions that they're having as the weeks pass in this coronavirus lockdown. But I'm showing you this cartoon not because I want to show it off and hope you like it, but oh no, hold on, I do hope you like it. But I'm showing it to you because of where it appeared. The cartoon appeared in this online newsletter that I'm a member of called Counterpoint. And Counterpoint is a brilliant new idea for cartoons that's possibly a new model for the way that cartoons can be consumed by you, the consuming audiences. As newspapers are having a hard time, and surely the coronavirus is going to put more pressure on them, it is certain that cartoonists are going to be suffering too. So we're looking for new venues for where cartoons and visual satire can be found. And this new idea, Counterpoint, started about a year ago. And the idea behind it is to get cartoons into people's mailbox via newsletters. And currently it's a free newsletter that you can sign up for at counterpoint.com. But one of the great features of it is that in every episode that we have, it features cartoonists in equal number from the left of the perspective and the right perspective. And so we have a good balance. In addition, the cartoonists are working together behind the scenes to get this thing to come out. And it's really been a great exercise. And the quality of the cartoons are great. For example, today, not only do we have cartoonists appearing in today's edition from the United States, but we have a world-class cartoonist from Nicaragua, Pedro Molina, who's contributing. We have cartoonists from Canada, the great Michael Diatter, and ones from Europe and elsewhere. So this is hopefully going to take off in a big way. Already we have tens of thousands of subscribers. We hope that you would join as well, because this is what we would like to think is a new model for cartooning. Well, anyways, enough about me. Let's get on to this week's interview. Our guest this week is Pulitzer Prize winning editorial cartoonist Jack Ohman of the Sacramento Bee. Now, many of our viewers will be familiar with Jack's work because they appear syndicated in over 300 newspapers around the globe. He is a gifted writer and humorist who's a regular contributor to both Foreign Policy magazine and Money magazine. Jack has also published 10 books, including 4 on a subject that he and I have a passion for, fly fishing. Jack is also a sought-after public speaker, in part because of the wisdom he imparts on political affairs, but also because he's a talented impersonator. He's the only cartoonist I know who can both draw and impersonate the targets of his ire. I caught up with Jack earlier in his living room in Sacramento, California, and asked him how things are going.
I'm very grateful to live in California. We were ahead of the curve. Our governor has been doing a great job, frankly. All cartoonists hate to say things like that, but I think they really have basically done a very good job San Francisco in particular, of getting ahead of this. And so, there we were talking about, what the world looked like a month ago, and the governor was talking about out of a state of 40 million people, 39 million people, 25 million cases, and a million deaths in California. And now, I look, it's a complete mess, but like it's less of a complete mess than it was. And so I feel pretty good about it. I mean, having, with all the asterisks and caveats on it, I do think that it's been difficult at the beginning because there was so much uncertainty about this. Just doing your work. This is not like, oh, there's a constitutional crisis, or oh, there's an impeachment or something like that. It's like there's an impeachment and then everybody can go to lunch, right? And so now we're in this asymmetrical environment where that, nobody you and my age has ever experienced. I mean, we've gone through, Kennedy, Watergate, Nixon, Ron Condor, all those things that seem like big things at the time. But like, I have to say, when Trump was elected, this is not remotely a possibility that I had considered.
Now, obviously we're all having personal constraints and difficulties in these times. Speaking now as a professional, your professional constraints. In these times of crisis, there's always these pressures to rally around the flag, pull people together, and often people who are critics, like we are as a profession, are frowned upon to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been quite a unique situation here because Donald Trump being so divisive as a character. Have you gotten any particular specific pushback that's special to this challenge that we have, or maybe you can outline what the challenges that you're seeing in this new environment?
Absolutely. Since everybody's home now, they get to spend lots of time thinking about how angry they are about something at the Sacramento Bee, and so my contact has gone up dramatically from what I would call Trumpy writers, and usually. It's kind of the usual stuff, but now it's like you're dividing the country is a common phrase that I've been hearing, and you need to support the president and so on. Interestingly, they're in two groups. They're kind of the usual suspects who write all the time, or they are people who I think they're putting out talking point memos for letter writers. Now, I got 3 from physicians in the Sacramento area a couple days ago that read very similarly. And by the third one, I was kind of picking up on it, and I wrote all 3 of them back. No response. Now, the indigenous ones who actually live in Sacramento, I think, I'll say something like, God bless you, thank you for writing, be safe, and I hope your family's well. And normally, you would think that would be something that they wouldn't respond to. Every single one that I've responded to that way has written back like, hey, I was just stressed, or hey, I know we're all in this together, and that's been a really intriguing aspect to this, where they're angry, they challenge you, and then you come back with, turning the other cheek, and they're rather surprised by it. So consequently, I've gotten a hell of a lot more email. I've gotten, but I do want to point out, interestingly, we are putting out this newspaper virtually. I mean, there's nobody in our newsroom. Okay, I mean, there's like 2 people on our side of the building in there, socially distant. We got an IT guy and the building manager, and then the press room is over off to the side. But like this, if this had happened in 1989, we'd be all out of work. There would be no newspaper,
right.
Or we'd be going in and putting it out and hoping to God that our 95s work if we had them.
So these criticism that you're mentioning that people pour on you at these times. Do you think there's a degree of fair comment that they're saying that maybe we should be a little bit more, I don't
Hmm.
know, easy or forgiving to our leaders at times like this?
No, well, I remember 9/11, and there was certainly a week or two period where, George Bush went up 3 feet in my caricature, and you don't want to go there. And the difference is because we have to run our tape back to what the world was like on September 10th, 2001, right? Which was like Bush is in over his head. The election was at minimum tainted. And so it was a lot easier for me to kind of rally around the flag at that point than it is now, because I see that this is a completely preventable situation. And they've been getting, telemetry on this for months and had done absolutely nothing. And so, and then he gets up and he's handled it very poorly personally. I mean, I think that the system, however you want to define it, led by Fauci and quite frankly Pence, who's like a mature adult, all other things being equal, who'd run a rather large state for a while and had been number 4 guy in Congress, who knows what he's doing. And Trump gets in and just throws these non sequiturs out, whether he's, I mean, for example, just on hydrochloroquine or whatever it is, I can't remember what the drug is, but he's basically shut off access to this to everybody with lupus and autoimmune diseases because, they've run out of it. So, like, I think everything that Trump has done is critiquable. And so, if you want to be rallied around, be somebody who is worthy of being rallied around. I mean, what I do in my work is I rally around the people who are delivering the groceries and the doctors and the nurses and the everybody. I mean, we ordered cookies delivered to our door the other day, right? I mean, there's a world going on out there, and they're exposing themselves. I haven't been I mean, except for walks, I haven't driven a car in 3 weeks. You know, I haven't been out of the house.
Mm. So, I mean, so now you're mentioning these people that are doing great jobs, and you also mentioned at the top of our conversation how well the folks in San Francisco and California are doing. So that means, are you doing some positive rally around the flag cartoons?
Absolutely, and we deserve to do it. And I mean, you and I came up in the generation of cartoonists where it's like that kind of stuff that wasn't really working. That was not the Oliphant generation. That was not the Herblock generation. For a lot of for a lot of us. And so I have done you know uh, 3 or 4 cartoons just along the lines of, hey, we're all in this together and thank you and look at these people who are sacrificing. And it was a very easy play for me. I mean, I didn't do any Iwo Jima flag raising or anything, but like, there are ways to do this and people are really appreciative of it. And I mean, I mentioned to you earlier, I drew this Sunday cartoon where I put all the workers in a flag, kind of a display, and we're writing it on the front page of the Bee, and for a poster, so that people can show support. On my walk the other day, I saw a woman made a 3 by 5 foot banner hung up on her garage. Thank you, delivery workers and first responders. And remember during 9/11, same deal. I put the flag up on my house right after 9/11, and so did all my neighbors. And I get it. And I mean, I have that, but I don't have the confidence in the president to effectively communicate that kind of message himself. And so it's up to people like me and you and tens of thousands of other commentators and everybody else to make sure that we all don't go nuts. And I think that the country has done a God blessed amazing job in this.
So Jack, now we're thinking ahead. It's hard for people to think ahead. They're thinking a day ahead. They're thinking a week ahead, maybe into the summer, how things will change. I'm going to ask you to put on some forward-looking goggles about what this might mean for satire as we start to pull out of this. In the cartoon world, the first thing we think of is, well, what does this mean for newspapers and the venues of where our satire has appeared, but also now also that as people are spending much more time engaging in the web in these sort of ways, maybe new opportunities are going to come up for satire. Do you have any thoughts or observations there?
Sure. I mean, because I'm old-ish, I remember 9/11, and so I remember that kind of hesitancy. You know, how far can I go? You know, the joke is too soon, right? And you don't know when it's too soon. Now, being a professional who has done this for, I'm sorry to say, 40 years more, you know, I know where the parameters are. I think I know where the parameters are. I mean, does it, you know, people are still making fun of Donald Trump every day, and people are still, you know, making fun of Mitch McConnell and whoever else needs to be satirized. So, you know, am I concerned about the trajectory of satire? Not at all. I do think, I mean, just to put on the crystal ball, we're going to have a hell of a recession. I mean, if they, and you're looking at Trump saying, okay, well, you know, we're probably going to lift a lot of the restrictions in a couple of weeks. I mean, that's what the balloons are being floated, you know, trial balloons are being floated on that. I ain't going to a restaurant without an N95 on. I mean, I could see where maybe in a couple of months I get out of the house, you know. I'm not flying on an airplane. I mean, we're going to drive our trailer up to Portland next time, I'm sure, because you're just like, I don't know. I mean, SARS and MRSA, very interesting examples of that. It's like people are still going to Saudi Arabia, but it's still out there, you know, and they don't have a vaccine for these types of viruses. They don't have a common cold cure. It's a coronavirus. So, you know, yes, it will flatten out. Yes, it will calm down. Yes, we'll be back to trying to rebuild in 6 months. But meanwhile, you know, you're going to have 15, 20% unemployment. And, you know, for a lot of people and a lot of business, I mean, you know, you can see it. If you go out, my son walks around downtown Portland, Oregon all the time, and you wouldn't believe the number of like old established places that are just like, they're probably gone.
Right, right. Well, Jack, look, it's been such a pleasure chatting. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Now, if you don't mind, I'd love to come back to you again in a not too distant future to check in, see how things are looking and how things are evolving from you. I'm also going to encourage all of our followers and supporters to follow you and check you out in social media and any websites as well where we know we can find your work, and just spread the word of satire around the globe. So thanks a lot for coming, Jack.
Great to see you.
It's always great talking to Jack Ohman. And one of the things we want to do here on our webcast is to talk to other satirists in their living rooms around the globe in order to get their perspective on these crazy times. Now, another thing we're going to do here every week is we're going to have a satirical shout out where we honor those who are using humor to comment on the things that are going on today. And this week, I've asked someone to join me in this quest. It's our first satire correspondent, and I talked to her earlier this week from her home outside Washington, D.C. So I've asked someone special to join me with this week's satirical shout out. Alexandra Bowman is a sophomore at Georgetown University, who herself is a satirist as well, and I wanted to get her take on things. Alexandra, welcome to Satire Can Save Us All.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Cal. And yes, it is true. I have dabbled in the dark arts. I lead a political comedy web series at Georgetown University called The Hilltop Show. And I would like to share one highlight from our recent history with our viewers. Around early February, one of our projects was written about by Breitbart in an article full of vitriol and bias, at the end of which they actually referred to me as the leader of a crack research team. But to be honest, we were more entertained by the whole affair than anything else. I actually did make shirts.
Oh, now you got some pushback, though, for the satire you were providing?
Yes. So we were called Nazis, as I don't think I've mentioned yet. And that article was shared by, I believe, 39,000 people last time I checked, about a month ago, and commented on by over 11,000 people. And that article was picked up by a whole bunch of other right-wing, far right-wing news publications and commented on by thousands more people.
Well, this is the thing when you enter into the world of satire, you're going to get a lot of pushback. Um, you get very little positive response because we're dealing with humor. It's a kind of a negative art form, and so you're getting a taste of it now. I hope you want to proceed on further, but you have to understand that this is kind of par for the course, and I want to, of course, welcome you to the fold.
Thank you. In terms of positive feedback, we have gotten quite a bit of that. I went on this insane adventure to New York that ended like the day before New York was declared under a state of emergency. And I actually got to meet John Oliver and talk with him a little bit about the Breitbart thing. He has endorsed the Hilltop Show, for the record.
Oh, that's great. So I asked you to help me out. Share with some folks some of the satire that you're seeing out there, assuming that the kind of things that you'll be seeing on the web would be different than what I might be looking at. And so you sent me some stuff, and let me see if I can call them up here for our audience to see. And we have, first it seems like a collection of photos.
Indeed. So we're not supposed to leave our houses, but for anything else other than grocery shopping and basic needs. And some people are leaving their houses to go grocery shopping with particularly entertaining means of protecting themselves from the virus. And it's unclear in most of these examples whether they knew how hilarious they were being or not. But yeah.
And we have even somebody who's wearing an orange.
We do. I don't know how he breathes, but at least the air he's breathing smells good.
And the cyclist, that was a particularly interesting one, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah. And then you have the full body outfits.
Yeah, well, with all of these comic conventions getting canceled, you can't let that $600 BoJack Horseman costume go to waste, now can you?
No. Well, what I love about this sort of thing is that, in these kind of crazy, trying times, people are finding creative and often humorous ways to be able to find their way through it.
No kidding. Particularly this cat owner who sent her pet a HR complaint. I'd like to read 2 paragraphs from this that I found particularly entertaining. You have been a great contributor to workplace morale and have been meeting your quota with regards to cuteness and chasing hair ties. However, your continual insistence on attempting to, or succeeding in, shutting off the power strip and computer in the middle of work hours, insistence on stepping on the keyboard during critical company events, and general mayhem have resulted in significant loss of productivity.
Now, what about these next 2, these tweets that you've got here?
Absolutely. So a few days ago, I reached out to some friends of mine saying I needed their best memes for an undisclosed reason. And I have one friend who lives in Tennessee in a place where she doesn't get a lot of internet access. And she has lately been surprised at how surprised most Americans are at the antics of Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. And apparently, according to her and the creator of this meme, his absolute ridiculous lifestyle is not all that unfamiliar to a good sect of the American populace.
And the one on the right.
Yes, so students who are now taking their classes via Zoom will probably know that you can change your background. I have before in my classes been in space. I have had a friend who has been upside down floating in space. And this one takes the cake, though. I think our viewers will probably remember the BBC News commentator whose little girl in her giant yellow, bright little pajama outfit burst into the room boogieing, and I think that this is the best background that is or ever will be.
Yeah, I might use it on one of the future episodes of Satire Can Save Us All.
Do it.
All right, so we have...
Yes. So the other day I was watching The West Wing while doing my weekly cartoon, and this line rung in my ears. I did a bit of a double take. Josh Lyman says, everybody should have to stay inside for 3 months so that they truly appreciate the outdoors.
Isn't that funny? And that's from 2000, right?
Yes. So that was from season 2, episode 3, which was released in 2000. So I think The West Wing has now joined the ranks of The Simpsons in terms of predicting the future in uncomfortable ways.
And this one we have is a cartoon of yours.
Yes. So for those who didn't hear about it, because honestly, you shouldn't have had to hear about it. It's just so ridiculous. Trump has authorized moon mining. I guess you got to give the guys who normally spend their time making space-related legislation something to do in these dark times.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you did a cartoon about, because one of the things about cartoons is that you can, for a short moment, remind people of some of things that are going out there that people don't notice. And I'm glad that our viewers here get a chance to see your work, and I'm hoping that we'll see you back here again to share some of the interesting things that that are going on in the world of satire.
Absolutely. I am always here. Would love to be back.
So thank you very much. That's Alexandra Bowman, everyone. Welcome to Satire
Thank
Can
you,
Save Us
Eric.
All.
See you on the other side.
All right, so that leaves us just one more piece to do, and that is an interview with the Muppet in Chief, Mr. Bowser McSchnauzer. Hello, how you guys doing? So Bowser has been brought here to do his weekly job, and that was to bring a joke. You got a joke for us this week? No, I do not. You do not have a joke. This is the second week in a row you didn't bring a joke. Well, there's a good reason, you see, because I got furloughed. Furloughed? What happened? Well, you see, I went to go to sleep. I lied down on the ground, and my fur got really low. Ah! oh, 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 no, 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 no. Don't tell me that was your joke. Oh, yeah, that was my joke. So you did bring a joke, but you brought a bad joke. I thought it was really good. Well, I hope next week you do have a better one. And I also hope that next week you guys come back at 3 o'clock on Tuesday for another episode of Satire Can Save Us All. More interviews, more satirical shouts outs, and some better jokes from Bowser. But in the meantime, please stay safe and sane. And remember, satire can save us all. Take care. See you next time. Say bye, Bowser. Bye, Bowser.